Welcome to Bootstrapped Unicorns. I'm your host, Josh Pies, and this is the show where scrappy founders, rebellious visionaries, and business misfits pull back the curtain on what it really takes to build something extraordinary from absolutely nothing. No trust fund, no fairy god investor, just grit, duct tape, caffeine, yeah, and that dream. We're talking about the wild, unfiltered ride of turning chaos into cash flow and ideas into impact. So buckle up. This is no Disney movie, but there might be some magic. Let's face it, even Elon started in a garage. So without further ado, let's get to the next episode. Welcome to Bootstrapped Unicorns, presented by C47 Digital Studios. Bootstrapped Unicorns, I am holding what is tantamount to a squeegee. It is branded the National Entrepreneurship Center. And why? The Entrepreneur Center. I always had a ship.
Right. We're not a ship. Yeah.
We're not a ship, but National Entrepreneur Center. And the reason why it is, and this is fun, guys, this is going to be really fun. You know me, I'm Josh Pies, and I'm the chief attention getter, hippie capitalist over here at C47 Digital Studios. And if you're listening to this going, that's not the podcast I tuned into, it's because our guest Belinda here from the National Entrepreneur Center is doing a co-episode with me today.
Hey, I'm
really glad you're here.
I am too.
And
looking forward to it.
I'm kind of letting her run with this because she brought in crafts, like arts and crafts. And
you didn't know what you were getting into.
I said yes.
It's going to be an amazing time, let me tell you.
Well, cool. So now for your audience, since this is going to play on your channel too, why don't you introduce your show?
Yeah. So welcome to another episode of NEC Suites. Today I have the privilege of working with Josh Pies.
I'm pleased to be here in my studio.
Well, but what I like most about this opportunity is that, you know, and you're in the space also to educate entrepreneurs, and as we are at the NEC, but we preach about working together with different groups, collaboration. And so what better than on our social media platforms?
Absolutely. I love the idea of co-branding. It's, you know, I have guests on my show all the time. You have guests on your show all the time. And I'm sure others have actually had podcasts. And every once in a while, I'll get somebody who's got a podcast as well. And the question should be, do you want the file?
Correct.
Do you want to share?
Correct. Why redo another interview when we can just do it jointly and have a good time?
Yep.
So the mashup.
If you're not sharing in entrepreneurship, you're doing it wrong. Absolutely. Bottom line. Really so what is all this stuff?
So I created, our podcast is called NEC Suites. And last year we would sit on the couch and do the traditional, having a conversation with our guest and providing insights to our small business community.
Not a bad thing.
No, correct. Absolutely. But I wanted to do something to incorporate my craft skills, but also get to know better said, I wanted to incorporate the talents of the individual that we're interviewing and getting to know them. They're community leaders at the end of the day. And oftentimes you just kind of want to know a little more what's behind the curtain.
Yes.
So in this case, we created NEC Suites this year where we're doing crafts and activities or the hobbies. So I have done pickleball. I will be making bread next month. I have done bookmarkers with glitter with the CEO of the Orlando International Airport.
Wow.
I have, played with
you know
glitter.
what my wife calls glitter?
What'd she call it?
It's the STD of the classroom.
Oh,
it gets everywhere.
Yeah, it does. Yeah. As an adult, we're a little better.
Yeah, I would hope, right? Well, I mean, we've got a range of kids. Even my 16-year-old is still acting like a 3-year-old with glitter. So you never know.
How funny. But it makes everything pretty. So it's all good. So that's
this is neat.
The impetus of the NEC Suites this year is doing things to get to know our guests a little better. So,
well, that's awesome.
Yeah. So today you had indicated you grilled, and
a lot.
We don't have a grill, and it's like already 95 degrees outside in Florida because it is, of course, May.
You should see mine when it gets up to about 750 degrees, which every once in a while is strategic. Every once in a while it's because I didn't watch it. But you know, it's already 95 degrees. The sun's setting right onto where I grill. And so it's just Dante's Inferno over there. And so you're right. It can be a little much.
But one of the things that you need to grill is usually to marinate a meat or whatever you're cooking. And so we are going to personalize containers, not Tupperware. Well, what are these?
What are these? Pyrex, right?
Yeah, Pyrex dishes. We're personalizing them.
And by the way, they're not Myrex. It's not like the Molex, Rolex thing. These are real Pyrex.
Yes, they are. So and they're a great size. So
yeah,
and
this is awesome.
Deep, so you can literally throw in some meat and
well, I love this. So, now, this is not my name though.
No. So we are doing 2 other individuals, and we will show the final product, which is yours. So the unveil will be actually your Pyrex
super cool.
container.
Thank you. That's awesome.
Yeah. So we have some upcoming guests, and these are the ones we're making for them as thank yous.
Well, I want to know who we're working on. Do they know they're going to be upcoming guests?
So we don't mention their names only because the sequencing might not be
yeah,
out of whack.
You know what?
So
release patterns. We have the same issue over here.
Movie magic.
Yeah, yes. I get it. Well, I will tell you that I'm working on one for a very influential and super nice woman who I have worked with. No. Well, no, unless this is your last name and I didn't get it right. But no, somebody we both know. I won't say, but I promise to do a very good job because, yeah, it's important.
Yeah. Well, they will know at the end of the day who has done them.
If I screwed it up, I'm sorry.
Yeah, no.
All right. No. So, and I know we're going to talk shop while we're doing this, but I have a feeling this takes a minute. You want to start coaching me through the process?
And it's actually super easy. So, with the Cricut machine, we cut out some vinyl with the names of the individual, and then I flipped it in reverse, so it'll go on the bottom.
So you see through the glass.
Correct. You see the name. And so you'll peel the sticker, or what's called the transfer tape.
Okay. Do you go slow?
Yes, because inevitably, and I'll like grab the corner and then flip it upside down, and then you're peeling away to make sure that all the little pieces. So I'm taking the white
paper off.
Correct.
Got it.
Oh, that one.
No, it's okay. It's okay.
There we go. And we may have to stand briefly after this.
Yeah. I mean, that's possible. The audio will change a little bit as we stand away from the microphones. That's okay. People understand.
So you'll peel it all the way off, and then we're going to put it on the
I feel
container.
like I'm going like comically slow on this. It's like almost too much.
And then you'll.
I just don't want to goof up the only copy we have here.
Well, and then that's what the
that
movie
really
magic.
Is neat looking.
Yeah, and so you'll flip it around, and then you'll do your best to kind of align it with the square in the middle there.
Okay. The little X we got.
Correct. So that was kind of a little cheat sheet. So
got it.
Now
roll it on.
Yep. And then just kind of, and that's where this fun gadget comes in.
So it's almost like we're wrapping a car.
Yes. Oh, I guess I've never wrapped a car, but that would be kind of an interesting thing to do.
I've got a number of friends who have local small businesses, and they do automotive wrapping.
And now you push down.
One of them only wraps clear things, and meaning he clear coats with a 3M vinyl on sports cars and supercars to protect their paint long term. So if you got your new Aston Martin, or maybe you bought a classic.
Take you up on that. Yeah, for a contact.
Yeah, he's really outstanding. He's actually the guy who trains most of the people nationally on that technology, and he happens to be right here in Longwood.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool. Well, I may take you up on that because I'm doing quite a bit of distance in my vehicle, and inevitably it gets nipped.
It's going to get, that's, I had that happen actually. We were filming with one of our clients in Miller. Hey, backstage there. Where were we when the rock hit my windshield?
Oh,
right. We're right outside the Busch Gardens.
Oh, that's right. Yep. And, big truck with a load dropped some rocks, and, that happened. So it goes right up my windshield, or up the hood, hits the windshield, instant destruction.
That hurts. And vehicles nowadays are not cheap. So
yeah, that's right.
So we'll rub this down. We'll get ultimately you want the vinyl to stick to the glass as best as you can, so it doesn't seep, so the product doesn't seep underneath.
Right. Okay.
And then,
so I feel like I want a hot glue, like one of those heat guns or something.
So what got you started with this podcast?
Well, it's interesting because I started in the film and television world. I had previous careers as well, but I've been in entertainment since I was a child. I've been on stage my whole life. But our company.
Now your whole life, really?
Yeah, since 1984.
Wow.
Yeah, I was a child actor. Yeah.
Oh, nice.
So, and big productions too. I was in a, you call it a mega church, but they had a massive theater. And so we did big productions, and I had,
leading
lead
parts?
roles from
Was it here in
childhood.
Orlando?
No,
Or-
Rochester,
okay.
New York.
Okay.
Yeah, that's where I was born and raised. We moved here about a decade ago. And, our industry, if you don't follow the trends or lead the trends, the other option is to be behind.
Yeah.
And
It's true in business, let me tell you.
yeah, right. And so the video podcasting thing, when the pandemic happened, I remember it was
push the sides down, and
oh,
then
we
we'll
do want
remove just to hold the vinyl down, and then we're going to pull the sticker on top.
oh my,
So.
okay.
And this one we are careful
I'm
because
gonna
we don't want.
watch. Yeah.
Much.
It's
Okay.
getting really quiet on this
I
podcast,
know.
but it's like the suspense is killing me here.
Yeah.
Okay.
So
all right.
child star.
Yeah, sure. We'll call it that. But no, during the pandemic, March 20th of 2020, I got 3 phone calls all within a couple of hours, canceling about $550,000 in our cash flow.
Oof.
And the side of it, I know it was permanent cancellations, complete business changes. Some of them closed. So it really damaged our business because at that point we had only booked about $700,000 for the year, and I had $550 canceled.
Wow.
So it was significant damage.
Yeah.
And so for the remaining clients, I called them all and said, "Okay, do you have bad news for me?" And they're like, "What?" And I told them flat out what's going on. And I said, "So, see, that's what I was worried about right there." You want a little bit of this?
No, scrape down.
Yeah. I don't know if I didn't press hard enough or what.
Inevitably, it always happens.
See, I don't
There's
have
always
nails,
one.
so
Yeah.
I can't do anything. Oh, okay, that worked.
Okay. Do you want to continue? There you go.
Do you want me to handle this or keep talking?
Yes. No, both. See, can you do both?
I can
Maybe?
multitask. I think I can. And there's some of our team walking through, and I'm just going to wave as the studio is getting some looky-loos. So yeah, I called them and I said, we've got a choice right now. We either kind of stand up and fight and come up with a way to keep marketing for you, or we can curl up and die. And that was my message. And I knew some people curling up and dying because they had no choice. They literally had no choice. I don't want to blame them because they may listen and realize who they are. And they're really,
sometimes life happens and there's no salvaging a situation.
The whole bunch of it had to be in person. There was no fixing that. And it was a pandemic, right?
Yeah.
So with the other ones, they didn't have to be in person. And a lot of what we were doing was already remote, and we were facilitating it remote. So I was like, all right, let's do this and double down on it. We'll focus harder. I promise, we're going to keep our price points, but we're going to work together really hard. Apparently, I'm going to have a lot of free time on my hands. And so I had a smaller team than we do now. We had 1 employee and another part-timer to really be my assistant. And so I told him, I'm going to keep paying you until I run out of money. And we're going to figure this out.
Yeah.
And so we did. And it was very successful for those couple of clients who really decided to stick with the plan.
Mm-hmm.
And one of them, still with us today, was telling me recently that we're the only advertising he does.
Wow.
And he annually, on average, and he's really good at kind of quick, small numbers. He says that 2.5x growth year over year for the last 6 years, including pandemic time, from doing what we're doing together. And it was actually his admonition with that, where I was like, okay, if that's the case, we need to do this for more people.
Correct.
So I started telling my friends, I hadn't really explained too much about what we were doing. I was just in survival mode. But I told a friend of mine who manages 40 podcasts how we were handling our clients. And he goes, "Oh, so you're just a video podcaster now?" I'm like, "I'm a what?" And he goes, "Yeah, you guys are just video podcasting. That's all it is." I'm like,
Just
"Oh,
that's
okay."
What it's called.
And it was a little bit more formal. I mean, he was crediting us with being more formal than we actually were. But I was like, okay, it looks like I need to reframe how I see our services in my own mind.
Yeah.
And so now, this side of it, I know that we've got systems and processes in place. We've got a far deeper understanding of the podcast ecosystem, the YouTube ecosystem. And this is, that's 2021 when my friend was like, "Oh, that's what you're doing." Mm-hmm. And so now in 25, I know that it's worked because I can look back and see it, but it's been 4 years of figuring out how to take years of entertainment expertise and translate that. And of course, I've got my MBA in technology entrepreneurship. I didn't know that I was going to do anything film related until kind of a weird happenstance back in 2006. That's a bizarre story if you want to hear it. But So I intended to be in the tech startup world or in the real estate space.
Okay.
And so that's where I educated myself. But here I am.
Ah, interesting. Well, you did something that was remarkable in that you pivoted, and you pivoted not only successfully but learned how to alter that. And then, you know, just like we talk about at the NEC, at the end of the day, you've got a business to run, and life changes, and so does the business. And you've got to be able to pivot. And if you don't know how or need help, turn to the resources that are available. And in this community here in Central Florida, we have a remarkable amount of support for entrepreneurs.
Well, tell me a little bit about that, because to be honest, I mean, during this pivot, my biggest resources were out of state, and they were helpful.
Did you ever Google things like, well, and you're leaning.
Think of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you're in survival mode, and I think that actually this conversation is really good for anybody listening, because you don't know when you're in survival mode until usually you're on the other side of it.
Yep.
Or in total crisis. So before you ever hit that place,
Correct.
You know, this is a good conversation to have, because I have a feeling the NEC would have been a massive resource for me during that pivot. It's kind of lonely to pivot sometimes.
Oh, absolutely.
You know, not everybody understands it either. And so not only is it lonely, but sometimes you feel a little gaslit, like you're crazy. And, you know, thank God. So Shannon, that's my wife's name, super supportive through the whole thing. Like, she's literally my biggest cheerleader. So that's beyond
awesome. A
helpful.
True partner. That's a true partner.
Oh yeah, no, it's beyond helpful. But yeah, still having some some almost removed business expertise, people who can say something unfiltered because it's not going to make or break their day, but they know it's good for you.
Correct. Yeah. That
would have been awesome. So how does the NEC input themselves into the community and also into like stuff like this?
Well, sometimes it is the grassroots approach. So the National Entrepreneur Center has an ecosystem of 19 organizations and then 2 programs. So those are departments within the NEC, my departments, in fact. So there are 19 nonprofits that do nothing but business technical support or offer entrepreneur opportunities for growth and advancement. Okay. And they're, as nonprofits, as you would suspect, we don't have large marketing dollars.
Right.
So you get to be creative. But if you were to Google Business Help Central Florida or Orlando, you'll find us. And it's the first thing on the on the search engine.
Hey, a page one. Everybody wishes they were page one in SEO. Look at this. We met somebody.
So it's now watch me do that and see we're no longer one. But it yeah, so we like to say
I won't.
Truth factor. No, so we like to say people are in business for themselves, but with us, they're not by themselves. And it's because of the organizations. Now, all the organizations, well, not all, the majority of the organizations offer free or very, very low discounted rated discounted programs or services, because at the end of the day, we're here to help and support the entrepreneur. And it might be the entrepreneur that can't afford a cup of coffee at Starbucks, but we want him to put their best foot forward and start their business correctly, because when they're successful, they hire people. And
the community becomes successful. Yep.
Correct.
And that's actually where my passions lie. You know, I was telling somebody this morning that, you know, the reason why C47 does what we do is because we want to be a part of somebody's thriving business story, because businesses employ people. People have families. Families make up our community. So we get to be a part of the community success story tangentially. And that's really the number one reason why the business even exists. So it's a very beautiful thing that you guys are focusing that way. Boy, I am struggle bussing on this thing.
I know. I think we're just going to peel this one, and we may table that one for another day. Yeah. This is a little. I did one last night, and it wasn't this difficult.
So obviously, if anybody's paying attention to this, the difference is that I'm involved.
No, not at all. I just think it might have been the type of vinyl also. So sometimes it's fickle, and inevitably there's always a piece that is a trouble spot. But these are the little ones in particular that are a little more complicated. So, and hopefully the crinkling isn't too bad on.
Well, the crinkling is going to be insane on the microphones, but this is the show that we have. Hey Miller, I'm going to involve you again. How are your ears?
I know.
Right. It's actually not picking up too badly.
Okay. All right.
Good,
We have a verdict from the audio tech.
Yeah, because I'm like, I'm ready to stop.
Miller's the head producer here at C47 Digital Studios, and he's actually a real champ when it comes to me throwing him into the show by just asking in the background. And so we love Miller. So yeah, this is actually really fascinating stuff. I worked eons ago a lot in economic development, and a lot of my clients were in economic development. Actually, when we met, you were in economic development in Kissimmee.
I was.
We were over at the airport, and we were launching the Pathways to Flight children's education program to come tour the airport and see the jobs that they could find in their community, which actually went swimmingly well, by the way.
Oh, fantastic.
Here, we need to just see if we can rescue this guy here. I see that part falling off, and I bet we can get it. Oh, shoot.
It's okay.
There's one little part there. Can you catch it in? All right. So close. It was like 99%. I'll take it. Actually, 99% is pretty darn good.
Yeah. So it was at Kissimmee Gateway Airport. In fact, I was the economic development director, and I was brought on at this point. It's 15 years ago to create the department.
Wow.
And I was there about 13 years, and then this opportunity came up,
which is awesome. Yep.
And I really enjoyed it.
Well,
and,
to your credit, you built an environment in Kissimmee that is growing and thriving. And so I think what you started is going to last a very long time. You can see it in the community, even in some of the decisions that are being made aesthetically. I noticed that some of the beautification that's happening right now is setting the tone for a higher caliber recruitment of businesses to move to the area.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and I've got as much as I'd like to take credit for that, it really is the leadership at the city. We've always had, always in at least the last 15, 20 years, we've had an amazing city commission that has just been so pro-business.
Yeah.
And so they allowed us to kind of try things out and do RFPs. And if the RFPs came back and they weren't quite a fit, then just kind of table it until the right opportunity does come along. So just a remarkable amount of things. We've got and I say we because I still live in Kissimmee, and it's always still going to be.
It can be a long-term we. I mean, you don't have to be employed there. That's our community.
Yeah, correct. So, but they've got a growing airport with Kissimmee Gateway Airport,
which thrills me. If anybody's like Kissimmee doesn't have an airport, go look.
Oh, correct.
And talk about private plane traffic. You get some serious ballers flying into there.
So a fun fact, when celebrities come in to go to the convention center or the theme parks, that's the airport they're flying into.
I have seen it firsthand.
Yeah, independent of that, if you were to rank the number of flights in and out of an airport, all the airports in the country with the control tower, we are always one of the top 100 list within that list.
That's fascinating.
Correct, by the volume of flights that come in and out.
Yeah. So my old home in Kissimmee was directly in the landing path. And so every once in a while I'd just sit in the backyard, and I love planes, right? And I'm friends with the guys over at Cirrus Aviation over there. And I would tell Jonah, hi, Jonah Santome, he's the director of operations. Yeah. I would just sit on the back patio and just watch just jet after jet fly in, because I'd like, oh, which model is that? And I'd go through. And of course, the Cirrus Vision Jet 2, which is on my bucket list.
Beautiful.
Gorgeous.
Beautiful.
That split wing is awesome.
Yeah, like $3 million.
3.4 million. Yeah. With a maintenance plan, you're looking at a little bit more. And honestly, I think it's undervalued for those who are willing to buy a plane. I think that's it's one of the kind of sleeper deals in the industry. Anyhow, that's very off topic. So getting back to the National Entrepreneur Center, though, you said there's 19 nonprofits, and I'm tempted to try to see if you know the name of every one of them, but I feel like that might be slightly unfair.
Probably could, but
could you? Not that you can have a favorite. I don't even want a favorite, but when it comes to maybe the one you find yourself working with the most right now, could you story tell a little bit about one or two of those so I can get a sense of what this nonprofit thing means? Because I pictured one organization, and in many ways, maybe you operate as one organization. but I now know there's 19. So help me understand that.
So each organization may have different individuals that specialize in different areas.
Mhm.
And so we're located in Fashion Square Mall. And so the analogy we use is sometimes you go to the mall and you are buying your shoes from one store, your pants from another, and your shirt from a different location.
Totally. Got
right?
it.
Same thing with business. You might find you click better with one person in marketing with one agency, and yet your business plan or Business Plan 101 was created
Mhm.
with the assistance of a different
Got
organization.
it.
So similar to that. So we ask everyone that comes in to talk to all the different organizations, see what's the right fit, because, personalities are different, specializations are different. You may get one-on-one help or a coaching session from one individual, but you'll attend workshops from a different agency. We have 7 or 8 different chambers of commerce or membership-based organizations, and you may decide, this is a more, has more activities that I'm drawn to. So again, you're using multiple services within the NEC. The nice part about the NEC is that it's one stop. So you were at one
It's
location.
a clearinghouse for all that access.
Correct. And so you were making one trip, you're getting to know a myriad of resources, and they don't overlap. That's part of,
That's the plan. No competition.
Correct. And we work well, and collectively it's that impact that is truly a splash. Our resource partners collectively in our ecosystem on average are working with businesses that create 6,000 jobs annually.
6,000 new hires?
New jobs. Direct jobs.
Wow.
Indirect jobs is like twice that. So, but I like to stick to new direct jobs within this community. We trained or coached in the last 2 years, 50,000 entrepreneurs.
Give me a sense of what training or coaching means, because it's 50,000 entrepreneurs.
Attended a workshop or sat down with an individual on a coaching session.
And this is the overall National Entrepreneur Center, or is it just Central Florida?
Just Orlando, and there's only one. Correct. Now it's called So originally the NEC was called the Disney Entrepreneurial Center, but when they transitioned, of course it was. Yeah, and the way we're governed, we have 3 major stakeholders.
Okay.
They all came together. It's actually a really neat story, but all 3 of these organizations came together to create the NEC, and each one of them provides a different function. So it's Orange County, who currently has the lease on the facility for us. UCF is our fiscal agent, and then Walt Disney provides a significant amount of operating dollars.
So when you say Walt Disney, we're talking about Walt Disney World, Disney Corporate?
Yes.
Got it.
Walt Disney Services.
Got it.
So they provide a capital for us to operate operational dollars. And so those are the 3 stakeholders. And then we have a myriad of investors that believe in what we do. And depending on the level of investment, certain benchmarks provide a seat on the executive board. So that makes up the governing structure of the NEC.
So the investor position is, what are they investing in?
The NEC, the collective, it's ensuring, lights stay on. It ensures, I talked about the 2, so it's 19 organizations and then 2 service lines.
Sure.
So within the NEC itself, I've got 2 departments. One is the Central Florida BizLink platform, which is the virtual platform of everything that we have. And that one's really neat. It has not only a description of all the organizations that we have, it also partners on a regional scale with the 6 counties with other resources.
Wow.
And so that platform has 111 partners. So it's 111 resources that are described, that again, on one website, you are finding what, support for whatever you need, or guides how to create a business plan, how to submit, paperwork or what a bank might be looking for to secure a loan, what kind of grants are available. All of that lives on that one platform. In addition to that, it has the community calendar. So all 112 groups that have events and activities can populate the calendar, this one site.
Holy cow.
With all of that information. And it's one of a kind. We have organizations that no longer bother to have their own calendar on their website.
They just use yours.
They link it to ours.
That's amazing.
So again, that collaborative spirit, one stop for, your business needs. And then we understand, it could be a lot. There's a lot of support out there, and you just may feel overwhelmed trying to figure out
how do you sort the support?
And so you would fill out a form and let us know as much as you feel comfortable telling us about your company, and we will help navigate those waters. We'll, depending on what your goal or objective is, we can recommend upcoming workshops or seminars or different organizations to talk to based on what you're looking for or needing.
Wow, that is outstanding.
So that's BizLink, Central Florida BizLink.com. Mm-hmm.
Central Florida BizLink.com, B-I-Z.
Mm-hmm.
Well, go there and we'll put it in the show notes, Central Florida BizLink.com. That's an outstanding resource. And I think there's a lot of people who, and I'll be the first to admit, I'm a little burnt out on certain like networking events and things. There's enough events that if you try to hit them all, it's impossible. Correct, but then so frequently you hit one that's lackluster. And so then you're like, why would I hit another one? And so finding a location to sort and clear through some of your thoughts on where to invest your time. It's funny, we record in batch for our podcast. And this morning, the first one we recorded kind of resolved at the understanding that the linguistics around time are fascinating. You think about it, you spend time and you invest time, and time is a commodity. It's a very financial conversation. And so that commodity is a fleeting commodity, and it must be spent well. And so when you think about, going to events, I attend way fewer than I used to because so many aren't done well, but you guys are curating it in a way that somebody can protect their investment of their time. That's awesome.
If you've got 2 evenings a week or a month, and you're getting to look at a calendar and you're getting to pick and choose what might be the best fit, or as you said, what's your best investment of your time. So
that's outstanding.
All in one location. And then the other service line is our Central Florida International Trade Office, where, now we're having all kinds of conversations as a country on tariffs. And we have a lot of individuals or entrepreneurs that are just really scared on what's going to happen next or not happen next. And to have a resource that's an expert to be able to help them navigate those waters is just remarkable. We have a workshop coming up this month on the 14th, and I don't know when this will air, but it's to talk about the strategies. How do you mitigate some of those costs? Because you may have your products as they go out may see a tremendous increase in taxes that your end user is going to have to pay. How do you reduce maybe your price to make it a little more affordable for that end? Or if you're importing products, how do you work things out so that it doesn't affect, your bottom line in such a drastic way? So
yeah, it's going to be fascinating to watch this all shake out. A lot of people are going to be learning really fast. I know our industry, the film industry, President Trump just announced, tariffs that are going to be on, re-importing. A lot of our domestic production companies will go abroad, create films in Europe or wherever, and then bring it back, which means they're skirting U.S. crew and locations and all of the things that could be spent here. And I'm used to, take this for what it's worth, everybody. I'm used to the film community going, "Oh, Orange Man bad," and I'm going to stay out of my opinion on this, but by observation, it's fascinating that maybe this one's going to be a little bit more welcome, because a lot has been going overseas and people are seeing, they've seen the trend for a while in this industry. And there's a whole bunch of people suddenly hopeful that it may revert back. And the only pushback I've seen is that he's including Canada. And there's so many people who are friendly with Canada and have been able to cross the border to work there, but they're like, don't do it to Canada. I think he's going to probably do that. And I think he's probably going to have to, given the circumstances. Domestically will benefit if he does.
Correct.
And so it's just kind of a fascinating thing to watch, because this is an industry where everybody will go, oh, we're suddenly making more money. I only hope that it happens more frequently for all the other tariffs, though we're all kind of on pins and needles about it.
Correct.
But shaking that out and feeling it out is a kindness to our community.
Yeah. And absolutely having an idea of how do you pivot. We started with that word early on, and it's the same thing. When you're bringing in things, how do you work on logistics? Do you take a little longer to have a product come in? If there's a cost savings because the route just went a different way, or so there's different ways of mitigating some of those costs. And how do you know how to execute any of them if you don't know what those are? And that's what we provide, is that content.
That's a fascinating event. And you said that's the 14th of May?
It is the 14th.
Yeah.
of
So
May,
I think people will have probably missed that in this one. But my encouragement would be, of course, to just get onto the website and start following, you know, what's going on, because there'll be more.
Correct.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And the conversations will, as they start shaking out, we'll figure out what are the needs specific to our community, how are things impacted, and so more things to follow when it comes to international trade. It's just a hot topic and going to be part of our vernacular, tariffs at this point on.
Yeah, for a while. So tell me, when you joined the NEC, what was the big surprise? Was there something when you got involved where you're like, oh, I didn't see that coming, or who never told me about this business in our community? Was there something where it was just like, oh my Lord, this is a thing?
No, I would say more the operational side.
Oh, is it? Okay.
The facility, I knew walking in that we needed to relocate to another location. What I didn't know is that we'd have to restructure our government documents in order for us to be able to roll out a capital campaign. And as I shared with you, we are 3 different organizations that have come together. So a true consortium, and working with all the different departments that were needed to have that come together. In the past, one of my peers has indicated that the quickest that the renewal of a document took was 9 months, and I had a full gut ahead of me. So the fact that we did it in a year was pretty remarkable, but it was a year of my time. So, but now we're rolling out a capital campaign to kind of get us into Creative Village.
That's a great move. Yes.
I'm super, super excited. There's, if you're familiar with the campus, there's the Paramore parking garage that's located right there, smack dab in the middle. There's about 21,000 square feet of retail space on the first floor. So we'll take a portion of that. And we're working the capital campaigns to contribute towards the build out of that space. So access to parking was a big concern to our board. And so on the first floor, we'll have parking designated for NEC users, and obviously those organizations that are part of our ecosystem and their guests. So
that's
free
awesome.
Parking will continue.
Yeah, I like the idea that you'll be at Creative Village, because there's so much entrepreneurship happening in that ecosystem.
Correct.
And
innovation clusters and all of that.
Right. Yeah. So a long time ago, in a land far away called Rochester, New York, where I'm originally from, I was a co-founder of Carlson Co-work, and we had a 9,000 square foot co-working facility in a reasonably depressed area of the city, actually. And it's a long story how it got there, but the short version is the build out for my studio never happened, and the guy didn't tell me. So I showed up to occupy, and it was just this gross old building still. And so I was like, apparently I'm not going to be here. And so same day I'm driving around the city looking for for rent signs, call a friend of mine, and he's like, and I was asking for advice. I thought he was only in residential. Come to find out, he had a massive commercial division, and his VP of commercial was showing this 9,000 square foot old dilapidated space to a whole bunch of crazy creatives like you, Josh. And so I show up to find half of my friends are there with his VP, all of them looking for new space they were focused on filmmaking and marketing. And of course I'm filmmaking and marketing too. Yeah. And so he goes, Kurt was the VP, goes, you guys should all just share the space. And we're like, okay. So we were comfortable with it. And he goes, have you ever heard of WeWork? Well, we had never heard of WeWork, and now it's
more popular.
Everybody knows. But this is 2014. Yeah. And so he tells us all about it, and he goes, if you guys promise to bring more businesses in, we'll do it. And so we all shook on it. And then the CEO, my friend who I had actually called, his name's Jim Goff, he calls me and he goes, hey, Josh, I'm glad you guys are all in. Thank you for being crazy. I predicted that. Would you be open to treating this like an accelerator?
Oh, wow.
And I was like, tell me more. So every Friday he showed up, and he's on the board of directors at the Rochester Institute of Technology, also on their innovation accelerator incubator. So he was really into that. So he brought bagels, coffee every Friday, and he would double your rent if you didn't make the meeting.
Oh, wow.
Right.
So incentive to go. And,
incentive,
and you
right?
got breakfast.
And I don't know if
Why
it was
wouldn't
true.
you?
I really, and half the room was starving anyhow. So it
Yeah.
was literally feeding the people. It was really good.
Community service.
Yeah, it really was good. But we met with Jim every week, and that's where I got the term hippie capitalist. He called us all his hippie capitalists because we were sharing business with each other, sharing tips with each other. There was no financial incentive per se, other than his joke that he would have doubled our rent. I don't believe he actually would have done it. But he was investing his time in us. And so it occurs to me that in the same way that his proximity to us changed all of our lives, the NEC's proximity in Creative Village to people who are thinking about solving problems creatively by choice, by design, by the way they're wired, that is the ecosystem that I know back at Carlson Cowork was what set a whole bunch of ships a-sailing. And that's really exciting to see our community just kind of naturally embracing that as the way we are. And I'm thrilled to hear that that's your tack. That is really exciting stuff.
Absolutely. It continues the whole, we're here for the community, we're here to serve. And what better than in a part of town where innovation and clustering and thought building is at its core. So we're excited.
That's really cool. So what do we do with this thing, by the way? So
now we are going to apply the armor etch. And so it's literally just painting it into the line. So there's probably enough product there.
Really? It doesn't take much?
No.
All right, I'm going to do it.
Yes.
Okay, that's fine. All right.
That
so this is armor etch.
Yes.
And we're going to thin coat, thick coat.
So some say it doesn't really matter. And I'm like, you're being way neater than I've typically done it, just smeared around. But usually, and then you'll let it sit for about an hour or however long, and then you rinse it off.
Really?
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have sinks here in the studio. Anybody who ever comes to the studio, we have a very nice kitchen space. Great place to have a sub. And
you're actually really well situated here. You've got a lot of little eateries here. Park's a fun
most of the guys at Coastal upstairs, who, for those of you who don't know, are partners in the studio, they just go to Hillstone next door because it's kind of like the cop out because you can just walk right there.
Right there.
I'm like, there is the pizza across the street. Have you had it at 60 Pines?
No, not yet.
Go.
So
it's wood fired. Yeah, it's really good.
That sounds good. I was running around today, so that may be the stop on the way.
That's a reasonable decision. Yeah. And so every time I try to get my daughter was with me yesterday or 2 days ago at the office, and Chipotle's down the street. And I'm like, we have all these really gourmet options. Please don't do. And she goes, Chipotle? We're doing Chipotle. And I'm like, Bella.
How old's your daughter?
16.
Oh, there you go. So
Chipotle is life at 16.
Yeah, it seems that way. So
because Will at 7 years old, McDonald's is life.
Yeah.
It's just, there's restaurants for
9 and 11.
9 and 11.
Yeah.
All right.
Similar.
Where do they go to school? You actually don't tell me.
They're in St. Cloud.
St. Cloud region.
Okay. There. So
we actually live in St. Cloud as well now, and love the area. Yeah. It's one of the things about Orlando. Orlando is big, including other cities, right? I consider myself Central Florida. I consider myself Orlando. I cheer Orlando. We live Orlando. Yeah. We don't actually live in Orlando, you know?
But it's, as you said, the close proximity to everything. And we really are a community of true regionalism. We used to, and you'll laugh at this. So we talked a little about my time during the city of my time with the city of Kissimmee. And I would run into folks here in Orlando that were just big champions of SunRail, but had never ridden the train. And so I made a deal with them. I would tell them what platform to be on, what time to be there. And if they came down to Kissimmee, we'd grab lunch. I'd do the nickel tour of our city. And then we'd go back, take them back to the train station and go up. So, and the joke was, if they actually took the train to come see me, lunch was on me. If they chickened out and drove, lunch was on them. So I ended up flipping the bill for lunch for quite a bit of folks.
Well, good for you, because SunRail is actually outstanding. And I love in the city of Kissimmee, and this is a big deal. I mean, SunRail was just becoming a thing not long after, moved my family here. The Kissimmee station is in downtown Kissimmee.
It is.
And that is a game changer. And it's kind of the same, downtown Winter Park up here. We will take the train and go to like Bosphorus Turkish in downtown, which is kind of my secret. Like I've got to have Bosphorus. But then, the kids think it's the coolest thing to go on a train. Do we need to go on a train? Probably not. But I'll tell you what, for the daily commute for the people at the hospital,
so Kissimmee Station, absolutely. Kissimmee Station is the third busiest. It ranges between the third and it's always the top 5, but normally it's the top 3 busiest station for that purpose. Just the amount of folks that are able to get on and off. And I'm actually excited where the new space that the NEC will be located at is a block away from the SunRail station. So
that is cool.
I am 23 minutes away from home every day instead of my 45 minute drive.
Yeah. When we're done here, I'll answer email, blah, 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 get a couple things done. And then I've got to fight, I-4 to the turnpike.
Versus doing that on the train on the way
right.
home. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So it is remarkable, and just the convenience. We hear a lot from individuals going, "Oh, I wish it would run on the weekends." Well, if you rode it, more often, leave the car at home, jump on the train, and you'd be surprised just how, one person at a time, you really can make a difference in that flow for them to be able to afford to offer the service on weekends. So. Yeah.
Well, and, I'm sure at some point our community will figure out how to get iDrive adequately accessed to it. And when that happens.
Well, I thought there was in the paper something along those lines about having it pop over. So
I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah.
It's one of those things. I saw something recently. Some community has a plan to put sidewalks. Oh, actually, no, it's my neighborhood. That's right. Shannon and I were talking the other day. We're supposed to get sidewalks by 2050.
Oh, okay.
Right. Okay.
There you go.
Yep. Okay. I mean, we plan on staying. That's not a problem. But I think we need sidewalks sooner than that.
Yeah.
And so,
funny.
I'm not going to hold my breath.
How funny. Neat. So how do you stay current with marketing trends? And
that's a behemoth right there. First of all, I don't stay current in things that I'm not focusing on. Okay. So there's, for instance, I stopped getting Ad Age. Ad Age is a phenomenal magazine to stay current on big trends.
Okay.
But those big trends are being executed by people like Coke and Pepsi and the bigs that are, in order to execute at their level, we're talking orders of magnitude larger than my client base.
Gotcha.
So can I celebrate that they've come up with great ideas? Absolutely. If I get a copy of Ad Age, I'm going to read it front to back once this year. But I'm not going to play out of my league, because what they do doesn't help me achieve my goals of affecting small business at the level I want to affect it. And small business to me is based more on employee size than it is revenues. I'm looking at, are you a 5-person business? You're in my wheelhouse. You have a 50-person business, still in my wheelhouse. Are you a 50,000 person business? You have your own giant ad agency on contract. So you're not my people. Yeah. So I stay up to date a couple of different ways. One, there's a number of podcasts about YouTube specifically, and all of our clients are on YouTube. We have one audio only client. Everyone else is video and audio. So I listen to podcasting on the YouTube topic. vidIQ, which is a podcast plugin, has paid for some phenomenally well-polished hosts. They're fun to listen to. They fight over candy all the time. As apparently candy corn is a real problem. One loves it, one hates it. And so it comes up in every episode. It's weird, but fun. It's just, add some quirk, right? And then, there's a variety of other podcasts that will dive into the topic of podcasting. And so for me, I've got that hour commute that happens, sometimes twice a day. So I get a lot of time in on that. I also have Google alerts on for strategic keywords so that I will get.
What's a word in particular?
One, entrepreneurship, because I always want to keep my finger on entrepreneurship. Another one is podcasting. So I just want to see who's writing blogs and articles and news points about podcasting. I also have Podcast Orlando. So if somebody's talking about something local, I might want to know about it. Of course, there's far less occurrence, but especially if somebody was talking about us. Yeah. Right. So, and of course I have my own, like we have C47, I have Josh Pies, I have some other things. Right. So whether it's good or bad, if somebody's talking smack, I probably know. Yeah. And if somebody's saying something good, thank you. And I probably know. So it's just another way of keeping my finger on it. But there's, as you well know, there's too much information out there. And so now the riches have always been in the niches, focusing expertise into a laser focus only makes sense for most businesses. And I used to be a kind of a jack of all trades. In fact, I just got done talking to my partner in producing movies, Neil DeHaan. Neil has another script for me. And so we'll probably do it. Like I've never said no to Neil. It's not my main line of business, but what I do for him, I don't really need to stay on the cutting edge, which is great because I will continue to just focus on the other thing, though I can do movies. And people know, they also know not to ask me to do theirs. We're not a movie production house. That's more the hobby, not the lead. So with podcasting, video podcasting, we laser in, we're very focused. And then we can offer extra services to clients. We manage email, we manage all sorts of things only if they come through the door as video podcasters. So we're building a very defined ecosystem that at some point I think is franchisable.
Okay.
I could see this in every city across the US. We've spent, like I told you, since 21 figuring out that we're video podcasters. We finally had a name to it after the end of 21. And then now we've got structure like I've never had before. Standard operating procedures are a wonderful thing.
They are.
Yeah. So here we are. That's how we stay where we need to stay is right there. And your world's a big world. Actually, much bigger than I expected with, 19 organizations, the 2 internal organizations, 100 plus partners on the website. That's a glut of information that obviously has got to take a lot of energy to curate. But
I have an amazing team.
Tell me about your
team. So
team.
Blessed. So we're small and mighty in-house. We've got there's 6 of us total.
Okay.
I do have one open position. But yeah, we're small and mighty and just truly have an understanding of what's happening in our Central Florida footprint. And a big part of it is because we're interacting with the 19 different groups.
Yeah.
And so the tentacles aren't just who are walking in through our doors that we're guiding to different organizations. Each organization's interacting with their share of individuals. I have the privilege of serving as president, and I get to chair every other month what are called our management board meetings. So we all get together with all the CEOs, and we talk about not only what they're working on, but trends. What are they seeing? When different elements were happening in the immigration space, just the aggressiveness that was occurring at the federal level. We have such a heavy Hispanic population here.
Oh, yeah.
What were they seeing right off the hand? And so it was just, fascinating to hear what they were seeing, what our entrepreneurs were experiencing. And our job is, how do we educate? How do we overcome challenges? How do we prepare the entrepreneur for different things? Now that was an example, but we were seeing how there's changes to SBA rules, and so they've increased the availability of funds for the low tier
what do you call it loan. Holy cow, and that's a game changer.
How do we communicate that? How are we preparing our entrepreneurs for those opportunities? And so that's part of the discussions that we get to have. And so it's as you said, there's just so much information. It can be overload, but when you're focused on our Central Florida footprint and you've got tentacles everywhere, it's easier to wrap your arms around things.
Yeah, right. So you've just got a lot of good people and resources to be able to manage that. Yes. Yeah, because the landscape shifts in every industry, but it seems like the topic of entrepreneurship is so phenomenally broad. And then from legislation to trends to local, regional, and national economic climate, all those plates spinning are almost overwhelming. So and thank you. I mean, you're doing work that small businesses like ours really need. And it's funny. I'm trying to myself work more on my business, not in my business. And we know that's a regular struggle, right?
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely. There's a whole program. The Jim Moran Institute was created for that very reason.
No kidding.
It's stage 2 companies that you've got CEOs that need to step away to work on their business, but don't. And it's helping empower them to figure out, okay, how do you set your business up where it can it's managed and run the way you want it, so that you can do what you need to do to help grow it and expand it. So,
well, count me in then. That sounds great.
The next cohort runs.
Yeah, that's exactly where all businesses should be thinking. But most businesses, it's like, hey, I'm really good at plumbing. I'm going to start a plumbing company. And now you got a guy under a sink who should also be, looking at his accounts and figuring out marketing and coming up with a strategy.
Yeah. All that other stuff. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
So there's so much to it. And not everyone's built to be an entrepreneur. Just because you make an amazing pizza doesn't mean you really need to have a restaurant.
Right.
But, if it's the sauce that makes it super, amazing.
Bottle it and sell it.
Correct. And export it. Take it global. So it's things
ironically sell it to Italy.
Yeah.
I think that's the coup d'etat right there. Could you imagine being the American, tomato sauce bottler who ends up having a #1 seller in Italy? That would be,
Well, it's probably because it's made in the USA, that type. That's the funny part. So my mom's from Spain. So I was actually born in Spain. My dad was in the Air Force. They went overseas. Yeah. And it's just amazing. Just the thirst for American products. So you joke about pasta or the sauce. I'm like, it probably would do well because it's an American product that they would enjoy. So
really, so there's still some Americana love over there.
Absolutely,
because obviously, I think the news would have us believe that we've spoiled it, and so
Well, and all these countries are equally as large as others, and you've got all different types. That's what makes the world go around, right? So
I still think we export cool, right?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. If you were to ask them, if given the chance to go on vacation, anywhere around the world for free, they'll tell you somewhere in the United States. I bet you, 9 out of 10 times that would be it.
And I'll bet 9 out of 10 times of those 9 out of 10 times, it's going to be Orlando.
Yeah. You've got younger kiddos, inevitably.
Absolutely. Yes. There's a mouse. There's Harry Potter.
Correct.
Oh, are you guys involved in Epic Universe at all?
We're not.
Ooh, hey, Epic Universe. I don't know what you'd need from the NEC, but comp some tickets and have the conversation, won't you? Huh? I have a lot of fun driving I-4, and on that flyover, you can see that absolutely insanely large roller coaster. Yeah, it is pretty cool to live in Orlando to see things like that go up.
Well, we do. We take a lot of things for granted. We've had annual passes to the different theme parks off and on, and just we like to go on a Wednesday right after work. We'd hit we'd get home, grab a change of pajamas and their toothbrushes, and we'd go spend a couple hours in the park. Before we left, they brushed their teeth, swathed their hands, put on pajamas, and off home we went and to bed. And it was just such a neat way to break up the week. Yeah, and it was a Wednesday for us. Whereas somewhere else visiting, that was their family vacation.
Right.
So,
and we do something similar. Every once in a while, you'll find me playing hooky on a Tuesday morning, and we'll rope drop SeaWorld, and we call it roller coaster hunting. We see how many roller coasters we can get in 90 minutes. And then I go to work, and then they go, because we homeschool. So Shane will take the kids home. They'll get their stuff done. But we got 90 minutes of roller coaster hunting in, which is pretty cool.
That's fun. Yeah. That's the quality time with kiddos that they remember forever. So
absolutely. Indeed. Neat. So do we have to do anything else to this, or is it just like baking?
It sits, it does what it does, and then it gets rinsed off, and then you peel the vinyl off, and there's your final product.
Now, you teased that it was going to have just a terrible smell. Now, either I'm high from the awful smell and I don't notice it, or it's not that bad.
It's probably not as bad, but some people might find it a little more offensive than others. So,
all right, I'm at the risk of being dangerous here. It really is not a pleasant smell, actually, but you've got to like shove it in your face to find it. Okay.
To get to that point. So what was the best business advice you've ever been given?
Ooh. Best business advice I've ever been given. That's an interesting question. Goodness gracious, you may have me stumped because I've spent my entire life looking at this, right? Well, I'll give you my favorite lesson.
Okay.
Because it's what started me in business. I don't know if you've listened to my podcast enough to hear the story of when I was 4 years old and my grandfather helped me start a manufacturing company.
Oh,
okay, true story. It's 1984. And my mom keeps losing her car keys.
Okay.
So she, my neighbor's mom never lost her car keys because she had a key rack. So I told my grandfather that I wanted to build mom a key rack for Mother's Day. So he finds a plan. I don't know where an adult in 1984 would find a plan. There's no Google, but he found a plan for a key rack, an ultra simple one. And he tells me about it. And I go, okay, cool, let's build it. And so he takes me to the hardware store, which was, I think back then it was probably Wider's Hardware. It was one of the Ace Hardwares, but they were all independently owned and named. Mr. Wider helped us go find the the 4-foot long dowel. It was a 1-inch thick dowel, and some gold eye cups, hooks that had a little cup on it, so they kind of finished the hook. Yep. And then we got some leather straps, and we go home, and it's a 50 pack of cups. But he told me that we're going to do 3 hooks down the dowel on a 6-inch cut, and then 2 hooks on the end, and then the leather strap would go end to end. So now you got it kind of hangs like a purse. Okay. And then the 3 hooks are where 3 sets of keys would go. So we build one. And he has me finishing the edges. He has me stain it, varnish it. It was pretty great. And so it was a gift for my mom. And then he goes, wow, it's a lot of leftover. I go, yeah, what are you going to do with it? And he goes, I don't know. What are you going to do with it? I said, we could build more. And he goes, oh, could we build more? I'm like, okay, cool. So he goes, what are you going to do with it? I said, well, Aunt Sue needs one. And he goes, cool, you should do that. Let's make one for Aunt Sue. So we did. The Pirates of the Caribbean song on her phone just played, and I absolutely loved that it was the Pirates of the Caribbean. Yo ho, yo ho, a pirate's life for the entrepreneurship crowd. All right.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
I'm not sorry. That was awesome. To make my long story longer with that fun introduction or interruption there. So I made a gift for my grandmother, and so for whatever reason, the guys weren't getting these. Only the women were getting them. But I made 3 now. Yeah. And he goes, well, we got room to do more. And he's like, what do you do with all of that? And he's just prompting me. I said, well, I guess we could sell them. And he goes, exactly. Aww. We could sell them. So we make a handful, and I go door to door in his neighborhood, and I sell them for $2.50 each. Oh, wow. And I come back, and he shows me what it cost him to buy the stuff and how much money I made. And I go, we should do that again. And he goes, okay, let's. So we took the money and we went to Wider's Hardware and we bought more materials. And I went back and he taught me how to batch manufacture. And he taught me the term batch manufacturing. And he was an industrial engineer in leadership at Kodak. Okay. And so this was very him. Yeah. And so now I've got like 50 units. And he goes, do it. So I started, my grandmother gave me typing paper, and I drew up an advertisement and then went to Wider's, and you could pay pennies to like run off copies. So I had like 100 of them, and I went door to door, letting people know I was on my way, and I would be there to sell. And then I went door to door, and I was cash positive $1,600 a year from 4 to 6 years old in 1984. I've actually done the inflation adjustment. Yeah. It's about $6,000 a year that I was making.
Little side hustle there. Nice.
Well, I was going to say, I was going into kindergarten, so I was going to be busy. But so my advice was really the lesson of, don't make one, make many. Yeah. I like that. Economize on your time and your materials, and no is no now. Like I learned that one, and I learned how to say it as an adult. But every once in a while, I would say, well, XYZ house didn't sell. And he goes, oh, you'll go back. Yeah. And so I would eventually go back, and eventually they'd buy. Yeah. Now, maybe it was to get the kid out of their yard. I'm not sure. But it worked. Yeah, it worked.
That's a fundraising principle too. It's just if you get no, okay, I'll be back in 6 months.
Yep, that's right. Yeah. No is a no today. Yeah. Yeah. So anyhow, it was that example that he drew it out of me as a good coach or mentor would do. And it stuck with me to the point where we batch manufacture all of our content. I'm literally doing what I was doing at 4 years old with the principles that my grandfather was teaching me, just with videos. Yeah. Yeah. So yeah, that's probably the best example I've ever gotten of business and he wasn't a business person. He was just really smart.
Yeah. Well, engineers.
I know.
Well, it's all about efficiency and things like that. So
it occurs to me, you've been in an entrepreneurship lane a long time, from economic development to this. Mm-hmm. Why this world? What drew you in?
So I've actually always touched small business in one way or another. And I started, believe it or not, right out of, not quite, my last semester at UCF, I took on an internship for the mayor of Orange County. And at the time it was called chairman. So it was Chairman Linda Chapin. So George Rodon was her chief of staff. And so we can blame him for my trajectory in life. But he brought me on that semester. And she was just a woman that gave back, genuinely believed in, everyone's civic responsibility, but she always championed, obviously, our economy and growing Orange County and just giving back. So I wrapped up my internship. I was unemployed for a weekend. And then I went to go work for a county commissioner who
Wow.
shared that same philosophy. And in that role, I was an administrative aide and executive secretary, and it was citizen relations, constituents, and it was helping, believe it or not, entrepreneurs on occasion with, zoning issues or code enforcement, and helping them on if they felt they were on a wild goose chase, stopping that. I got my master's while I was in her office, and then transitioned to the business development office, where I was responsible for marketing and outreach.
Still Orange County.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
And they're the MBE, they certify companies as minority or women owned, but it was teaching how to do business with Orange County. And being involved with the resources like the Small Business Development Center or Prospera, which was starting off at that point as HBIF. So it was, again, identifying what organizations were available to help entrepreneurs, kind of determining if it was a fit for Orange County funding, making those recommendations, but teaching, entrepreneurs on how to secure a contract with Orange County. So fast forward, I left that, went into it was a nonprofit world, but in the private sector, representing an industry, hospitality.
Okay.
And then I ran for office.
You ran for office?
Lost my mind and ran for office, came close, but just wasn't my calling. But I met my husband on the campaign trail.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. And then
he was the one with the big sign in the crowd.
Yeah, he really was. Are you saying it jokingly?
I'm saying it jokingly.
So there is a photo of Galle Orange, which is a big festival that happens in downtown Orlando, or it did.
Okay.
And there is in the brochure, there's a photo of just a sea of people. And it's like literally all down Orange Avenue. All you see is heads. And in the little corner, you see a Belinda Ortiz sign, and it's blue. And that was my now husband holding it up. Now he's 6'5". And he was holding it up in the air, so you can definitely see it from the stage, which is where the photo was taken from. But
that's wild.
You say it
How
jokingly,
did I pull
and I was
one
like,
off?
wow, that is so true. So, but I met him on the campaign trail, and so I may have lost in the polls, but I gained.
You won in life.
Professionally, I did. I really did. And I took a job for about a year working for my state political party.
Okay.
Did across the state outreach.
By the way, folks, that was beautifully skirted. My state political party. I'm not even going to ask. That was so well done. Keep going.
No, and then I took a job with the city of Kissimmee. They brought me on to to create the economic development office, and just it's always been my lane. So yeah, one way or another, I've always touched economic development, whether it was representing a major industry in town, or it was constituent relations and helping troubleshoot in government or educating. And then in that role with Kissimmee, I was either active on different boards, I was a funding provider, or just obviously managed incentives. But when this opportunity came up with the NEC, it just was a natural fit because I had already interacted with so many of the resources that are under one roof there. So
what a cool story. I like that.
Yeah.
So, and what did you study at UCF?
So I did political science and public administration. And,
literally the perfect mix for what you're doing.
Yeah, both sides of government and nonprofits in a way. So, but yeah, you'll appreciate this. Going to work at the NEC at Fashion Square Mall was just really nostalgic for me because my dad retired here to Orlando when it was my senior year of high school. So I went to Winter Park High School and then went straight to UCF. But I put myself through school working at the Navy Exchange, which was right next to Fashion Square.
Wow.
So the stomping grounds was senior year, freshman year of high school.
Now, was the executive airport because I don't know when it turned over to being the executive airport, because previously it was an Air Force installation.
Oh, yeah, years in the 30s.
It's that far back?
Yeah,
Got it. Okay.
It wasn't. Yeah. So it was a Naval Training Center up until, I'm not even going to try to remember the year, but
well before.
But going back to work or going to work at the mall was just kind of,
that's really
as I said, nostalgic for me. So
And the capital campaign is going to start soon to shift that, right?
It is. So it's already underway.
Oh,
so it's a 3-year comprehensive capital campaign. It's 9.5 million that we're raising, and I'm up to a little over 6 at this point. 6 million.
Phenomenal.
So yeah, it's we are grateful and appreciative of everyone that's contributed or we're working towards. But yeah, we're doing well. And
that'll be money well invested in our community.
Absolutely. Yeah. It's paying it forward, and it's tax deductible. So
that's
if anyone's
helpful.
interested, and we encourage them to reach out. So.
All right. Well, I think this worked swimmingly.
I think so too.
The co-show thing.
And you know what we didn't do? Okay,
there's something
timing on our part.
No.
The unveil. You asked if I was wrapped up. I'm sorry.
Oh, look at that.
Yours. So let's pull the sticker off the vinyl.
So on her previous episode, somebody else made this for me, so it would already be done. So she's pulling the vinyl off this right now.
Well, actually, this one. So the way they work is, so we've made gifts for future guests, and this one I kind of made. So it's my gift for you. So
that's super cool.
Last night's activity. But
it sets up that fast.
Yeah. So, and that was kind of part of the exercise.
Oh, look at that. So I am the worst at peeling stickers because there are no nails to work with. I won't pull my knife out because that sounds dangerous.
But to see how it's etched.
That's gorgeous.
And all you had to do is just apply the stuff. So isn't that awesome?
What a cool tech. I like this. Material sciences for the win.
Yeah. Oh.
I don't even know where to start with this. So... And you did the vinyl cut on...
just exactly what we did here. I did it on the Cricut machine.
Neat.
And it just, when you go to cut it, you have to do the mirror image so that when you're looking at it, it pops up.
Oh, that looks great. Look at that. Does that pick up on camera, Miller? Yeah. Very nice. Well, we do a dry rub now on, I cut up a whole bunch of chicken thighs, do a dry rub, and I just let it sit so it really sets. And then we grill that low and slow and put it over jasmine rice. And for whatever, the kids don't do a ton of fancy barbecue, but for whatever reason, not that that's fancy per se, but it's the closest to fancy that they're getting. What a hit. And so we'll do that in this later this week.
There you go. There you go. Well, no, thank you for this opportunity. I've enjoyed this, and I love the spirit of collaboration and working together.
Same. And I'm going to be doing a presentation for your organization in July, right?
Yeah, with the Winter Park Business Academy here in Winter Park's backyard.
All right. So if you're listening to this, and we'll make sure it releases well before then, so we can tease this. Come to the event. I'm sure you have to register. Where would we register people?
Bizlink.com. So CentralFloridaBizlink.com.
Central Florida Bizlink.com is where you're going to go to register, and you're going to come here to the studio. We're going to do it right here in Studio A. There'll be about 30-ish seats available. And we're going to talk about marketing through video podcasting and what it might mean for you, the effort, the equipment, the concepts. A lot of them are portable outside of video podcasting into other applications. We'll talk a little bit about social media, and we're going to dispel some myths too, because people think they have to. They feel behind because they haven't. And we're going to just do some real talk so that entrepreneurs can feel a little bit more free and start on a journey, because it is always a journey, I promise you. So I'm Josh Pies from C47 Digital Studios. This is my show, Bootstrapped Unicorns, and you are?
I'm Belinda Ortiz Kirkegard, and my show is the National Entrepreneur Center's NEC Suites.
And this is the first time we've done a co-show, and wow, that was cool. Until next time, get back to work.